Welcome to Let's Talk Tech with NVTC, a digital series exploring tech's most notable trends, new innovations, digital transformations, lean agile principles and mindsets, the future of work, and more. We'll introduce next-gen leaders from member companies of the Northern Virginia Technology Council and learn about the great impact they are making in our region. I'm your host, Philip Nathan. Welcome to Let's Talk Tech with NVTC. Today's episode will feature American Systems President and CEO, Peter Smith, as well as Vice President of Engineering and Analytical Solutions Directorate, Anthony Beeman. As always, we'll have our Did You Know segment at the end. And before we begin, I'd like to take a moment to thank our sponsors: Accenture, American Systems, Consumer Technology Association, General Dynamics Information Technology, ICF, MITRE, TalkDesk, Uninet, and our media partner, iHeartMedia. You can find all of our episodes on Wonk FM and the iHeartMedia podcast app. Now, let's welcome Peter Smith and Anthony Beeman. Welcome to Let's Talk Tech. Peter, Anthony, welcome to Let's Talk Tech.
Great to be here, Philip.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk to you guys. American Systems. I've been able to say your name multiple times as being a sponsor for this show, and I've been really looking forward to learning more about American Systems. Peter, I know you've got a great origin story of how you even met American Systems and really about what the mission and what it means to you. Why don't we start with you? Tell us a little bit of background about yourself and how you found yourself at American Systems.
Thank you, Philip. Yeah, it has been quite a ride. I've actually been here over 40 years now. I started up at our Newport, Rhode Island office. I grew up in Massachusetts, went to the University of Massachusetts, answered an ad in the Boston Globe for test engineers, working on the Trident submarine program. And I spent a couple of years up there in Newport. Great time, learned a lot. Very young engineer. It was a very exciting place to be. Moved down to Virginia a couple of years later and went to work in Crystal City, continued on the Trident program, worked a number of programs, U.S. Army, other Navy programs, State Department, areas like that. Around 2000, I started working for the corporation, and I've had a lot of different jobs, a lot of different responsibilities in my time here, and eventually worked my way up to CEO in 2014. So it's been a great place to work. A lot of nice people here, a lot of great people like Anthony and the others. I'm really happy to have had this time.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great rise for any of the younger people listening, that it is possible for you to start with a company and then find yourself not just in increasing leadership roles within the management structure in the middle, but you can actually make it all the way to the big seat. Is there something special about the mission of American Systems that, you know, with the military and the government contracting that kind of hits home for you?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We've been a federal contractor throughout our history. The company was actually founded in 1975. And like I said, throughout that time, we have always been a federal contractor focused on the mission. It's a great place for people to come to work to continue the mission. It's a great thing about American Systems also. A lot of veterans within the company. Last year, in fact, over 47% of the people we brought into the company were veterans. And they're so important for our workforce, helping translate technical requirements into operational requirements, things like that. And it's just been a tremendous opportunity to work on national priority programs that really do make a difference. As you said, working for the military, Department of Homeland Security, Justice, state, all of those different agencies. It really is great to be in a position to make a difference.
Yeah, mission first, people always, and especially coming right off of Memorial Day, where we get to, you know, every day is a day to honor those members, the family members and the people that gave the ultimate sacrifice. But, you know, there's a lot of companies that use that title, mission first, people always. And well, Anthony, you're part of that people. I want to hear all about you. How did you find yourself in American Systems? You got the great beard.
Well, thank you, Philip. So I was working for another company, and American Systems bought our organization, and I came over in 2012. So I've been a part of American Systems since 2012. My background is in aerospace engineering, and I work at the Patuxent River Naval Air Station. That's where I started, and began as an engineer and moved up to program management and was promoted to director of the Engineering and Analytical Solutions Directorate about 4 years ago, and that's where I am now. Yeah, as Peter said, it's a great company supporting national priority programs, and I really enjoy coming to work every day, getting to feel like you make a difference when you support the programs that we support and the customers that we support.
Are you from the Mid-Atlantic area? I know Peter said he was from up New England.
I am originally from North Carolina. Went to North Carolina State and got my bachelor's degree and master's degree in aerospace engineering, and then moved up to Patuxent River, Maryland.
So do you call yourself, like, would you consider yourself to be a technologist, an engineer, or like what I heard you say is that you were able to make a shift into more of a program management role from being technical? And
right.
I've found that that's sometimes difficult. I'd love to hear just a little bit of your experience of what you found makes you so effective as a program manager, having that background, to like anyone who's listening, that it's possible for them too.
Well, yeah, I think that's an important distinction. Having a technical background, I think, helps in your decision making. When you're, as a program manager or director, you're able to see things from the engineering side. And I do consider myself to still be an engineer, although the folks that I work for me may not consider me to be an engineer, but anymore. I think that's a great asset to have, and in a role as a program manager or director, to be able to understand and the technical details of the programs that you're overseeing.
Yeah, especially because American Systems, one of the things that you guys talk about is digital engineering. It's right in the title. But what's interesting about that is we hear a lot about digital transformation. And it's almost like a buzzword or keyword that people know they have to talk about. And we have an understanding of what some of that means. What is digital engineering? Is that the same thing? Is it just another term? Or why engineering and not transformation? What's different about this?
Well, digital engineering is the use of models, or digital twins, as we call them, in the design, development, test, validation of a system. So it is a transform. The country and our customers are undergoing a transformation from a document-centric process to a digital process, or a model-centric process. And the bottom line is you have models of systems or components, and they give you information and data to enable you to make better decisions. And I think that's kind of the bottom line. Is it enables the decision makers and the stakeholders of a program to make better informed decisions by using these digital models.
But so you're saying, is it an AI function? Like it simulates, if I made this decision, this would be the outcome, and then I can evaluate that and then do another and another and figure out what's best for me? Is that what you mean by model?
Well, it can be on the system engineering side. We call it model-based system engineering, and that's where the engineers and the system engineers model everything from the requirements, how they interact with each other, how they affect each other, and how things flow downstream. So, as a decision maker, you can then say, well, how will it affect the end product when I change a requirement up front? And it all flows down. And you can even add in other models and systems that whatever component you're designing may interface with down the road. And it'll show you, for example, if you change an upfront requirement, how does that affect the mission of something down the road? And that's the whole point, is it connects and all these different components together in a model or an ecosystem. And it enables the decision makers to see how their decisions up front will affect the end product.
Yeah, I like that phrase, that term, ecosystem. I think that helped me understand exactly what you're talking about, that it's, one thing affects multiple things, and you're showing people how that will happen. Peter, American Systems, I think initially before was at its core an IT and an engineering service provider. So it's a service company. This sounds more like a product. How and why did you take it in this direction of digital engineering? And what do you think it's allowing you to do for your end customers and the clients who are the defense industry?
Sure. It's a good question, Philip. We are a services-based company. There is no doubt about that. But what we focus on is bringing our customers solutions. And we use our processes to get them to a better place. And as Anthony mentioned, engineering is engineering. It always has been. The change has been moving from a document-based approach or process to the model-based approach. And by doing that, you can give better insight because you can test more. You can hypothesize things as you're going forward. So many times what we hear from our customers are they're looking for, faster, better, cheaper, safer alternatives to getting to an end state that they're trying to reach. By bringing in the models, we can decrease cycle times, decrease costs, we can increase efficiencies, increase better methods put in place, and put them in a position to get better outcomes and better capabilities as they go through the process. So many times we're guiding customers through the process, working with them through the process to help them get to those better decision places as they're going forward. Having said that, not everything we do is strictly a service. We do provide as I said, solutions, and in providing those solutions, there are products involved in those approaches and things like that. So we do test things through the process also.
Yeah. So with digital engineering and some of those model-based learning that Anthony was telling us about, who are some of the different types of customers that you mentioned before? Air Force, Navy, these folks. How are you supporting them with digital engineering and some of these models, and how are they applying it? What are they using it for? If you can tell.
Sure. Anthony's got a couple of examples that he could talk to you about specifically where we're in a more of a service-based environment. But with the solutions, you've heard planes, trains, and automobiles. We're kind of working in planes, helicopters, and submarines. The Navy has been very receptive to this type of an approach as we've been going through this. And what we've been using our model-based approach for in them is helping them evaluate systems and system changes in those planes, submarines, and surface ships across all of those domains. They do a lot of change management. They'll put an alteration into a given platform and want to see how that behaves before they actually do the installation. And many of our models help them understand what the change or an alteration would be to a particular platform.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I'm still trying to wrap my idea around some of these models that Anthony, I think you were talking about, digital twins, and these are some of the things that are going through my mind. Can we have like a specific example? Maybe that would help, maybe not just me, but then also the audience understand what you guys mean by digital engineering.
Sure, I'll send that over to Anthony.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So specific examples of where we implement digital engineering. And again, as Peter said, we have a long history of supporting customers doing engineering work. And every customer has their processes and the tools that they use. And so what we try to do is implement digital engineering within their framework where it makes sense. You're not going to come in on day one and just rip out a customer's the way they do business. You have to use common sense and implement digital engineering where it makes sense. And so a lot of the areas where we find that we can contribute, and specifically for the Navy and Nav Air, is in, we develop digital twins of aircraft and aircraft systems. And that involves, modeling of components or modeling of the flight dynamics of an aircraft or different sensors on an aircraft. And so you can build a simulation of that aircraft and you can do lots of things with it. You can train pilots on it. You can do things like software in the loop and hardware in the loop, where you're bringing in actual software from the aircraft into the simulated environment, or hardware and sensors from the aircraft into the simulated environment. And so it gives you an incredible ability to analyze and test systems that may eventually go onto the airplane before they actually do that. So instead of flying a new system in an airplane and burning fuel and putting pilots in an airplane, you'll do it in a simulated environment. So that's an example of where this digital engineering saves money and time and helps our customers get the technological advancements that they're looking for.
Yeah, that resonates with me. I'm learning to fly, and you do the book work and then you take the plane up, and every time you do it, there's a cost to it.
Right.
And if there was a way, and it's based on fuel, and right now we can imagine how fuel is becoming more and more expensive. Yeah, that's a great example. That's a great example. And I think that kind of, and that I can understand as a digital engineering, a model, right? They're going to go sit in this simulator and it's going to models what it would be like in the aircraft. And I think that kind of helped cleared up my misconception of what you guys were talking about. So I really appreciate you taking us through that.
Mm-hmm.
But Peter, what type of investment for the company and a strategy-wise goes into creating a digital engineering platform from a business standpoint? And how did you guys get to the point where you were ready to do that and know that this was something you wanted to do?
Sure. Well, as Anthony said, it's been a path. We look for opportunities to bring in digital engineering where it makes sense. Where we see an opportunity to save money for a customer, where we see an opportunity to speed things up, things like that are what we focus on. And our engineers are pretty agile. They've done a lot of work in different areas and can bring the models together relatively quickly in terms of what it is that we need to go forward. We have invested in some IR&D money and background into setting up a lab where we'll have a lot of the infrastructure we need to start from. And as our engineers think their way through different opportunities to do these things, they'll bring them into the lab, try them out first, get a little bit of a head start, bring it to the customer, lay out what it is that we think we can do for them, and then work with them to actually achieve the outcome that they're looking for. So strategically, it wasn't a leap, it was more of a evolution to where we got to. So it really wasn't a big outlay all at one time. And as we've built up experience in these areas, we've saved the models that we've used in the past. We modify them as we go forward. We use them as the baseline to create other models. It kind of has grown organically over time. And we're very pleased that we had the time. And I think it helped us a lot to start early. And by early, I mean, again, thinking our way through where it made sense. It wasn't something that we wanted to jump in and say, everything we're going to do is digital engineering. It was more of an approach of practicality and individual use in individual areas.
No, I love that. And as you build one small piece of it, it snowballs, right? It's like anything else. You want to make a change in your life, you start small and that will compound on each other. Or if you start in a new business and creating things, and then it sounds like you have elements and things that you've created in the past that you may find a new application for that allows you to do it a little bit better. Where's this lab?
It's out at Patuxent River. It's in Anthony's office space that we have out there. And it made a lot of sense to put it out there because a lot of the work that we have been doing is with NavAir. But it's available to anybody that wants to use it. And we do use it pretty widely across the company.
Yeah. So are you bringing the pilots and the warfighters in for, in your evaluation stage? And maybe this is more of a question for Anthony, in running the lab. Is that how do you do your research direct, like with SoftWorks and some of these other programs within the government, the military, and the defense mechanism, that you can bring in some of the warfighters, get firsthand responses and knowledges of what would be useful to them, and then go create that in the lab? Is that how you work this?
That's exactly how we use it. That's definitely one of the functions of the lab. And as Peter mentioned, it enabled us to bring together all our tools and processes into one environment. And across the company, we use a lot of different tools and simulation architectures and things. And this enabled us to pull everything together into one environment, and it's used quite often. In fact, we recently developed a dual redundant autopilot system using this lab, and a key component of building any system is getting customer buy-in, right? Getting their feedback on the requirements that you're putting on the system. So having the pilots or end users come in and seeing how the system would function in a simulated environment is critical to getting their buy-in for the end product. So yes, that is definitely a way that we utilize the lab.
Yeah, I mean, I think, we had some time to kind of talk about what you guys do earlier. And so I want to ask you about the test flights. Can you describe how you've been able to simulate those test flights to avoid having to take the planes up for the Navy?
Right. Well, we have a we have a simulation architecture that's the core of our system is a system called Ideas, and it's a tool that American Systems developed, and it's something that we use on a lot of our different programs. And what that architecture does is it enables you to build models and run those models in this environment. And so it includes things like the atmosphere, weight and balance, and all these different things that affect how an airplane flies. And it enables you to do these simulated flights. You can do them in thousands of flights or maneuvers in a quick time over a matter of minutes, and do your data analysis, or you can run it in real time and have a pilot interface or pilot fly it, and he would the pilot, he or she would fly whatever maneuver or mission they're trying to evaluate how your system performs.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. So I learned a new word recently, and I'd like to just ask. They were talking about gamifying learning, right? Gamified learning when it comes to flying. Is this an example of that? And I guess it sounds like you guys are taking care of the engineering aspect of those test flights, and then the pilots can then go work on the physical, because flying has a physical response on the person as well as whether or not the machine can do what you need it to do.
Right. Yeah. The human interface part is a critical component, and it's not only the pilot's hand on the stick or throttle, but it's also the indications that he has or he or she has in the cockpit that alert the pilot to what's going on. And all these things, if you can imagine a pilot in a dangerous situation on a mission, needs to be able to think quickly and not be confused by what is being displayed. And so that's a critical part of what we do is to provide the information to the pilot that enables the pilot to make the right decisions quickly, so that the pilot's not trying to figure out what's going on. The pilot immediately knows, okay, this is what, these lights are indicating this and that and the other, and that they can, so they want to focus on their mission. They don't want to, you don't want to have the pilot having to figure out what's going on with whatever system that you've implemented in their airplane. So that's a critical component of why we do these things up front, as opposed to waiting until a system is integrated into the airplane. And then the pilot say, well, I'm confused. I don't like how this looks or whatever. Well, he already knows how that system functions.
Yeah, it's it's sort of like when you build a website, you do some user interface kind of diagnostics in the beginning to make sure that it flows well for the end user who's going to land on that website, for example. The same way goes for the pilot, that having things oriented in a certain way may not be the most efficient for them. And I love talking to pilots because they have so much information coming in at them all at once, and the practices which they go through to become mindful to really take in the information that's required at the time and still aviate, navigate, and communicate all at the same time. It's just, some of those great lessons that we can all learn. And it sounds like you guys are really working on trying to make that safer, easier, and faster. And it does, I guess in my mind, I was like, oh, it's like a video game. It's sort of, but I learned this new word. And I thought I'd throw it out there to you. Maybe I was going to get a little smarter, but I don't think putting it to the wrong place. But, Peter, what's next? What's next for American Systems? You've had some great momentum. You've evolved into this thing that you're doing this, and it sounds like you're doing some great work, but you're part of this overall ecosystem of defense, and we're continuing to change, continuing to grow. Where's American Systems going?
Well, it's exciting stuff. And we've gotten very positive feedback from the customers that we've worked with. So we want to expand it. We want to do more for other customers. We've got some recent opportunities in the Department of Homeland Security where we think we can take these types of approaches. It all goes back to the very beginning statement of engineering is engineering. It's all, you got to do the work. And whether you do it in a digital domain or a documentation-based domain, really, the differences are where can we save money? Where can we speed processes up? Where can we get better outcomes? Things like that. And that's what we're looking for all the time. And because we have such a rich history in engineering, we're in a good position to do those types of things. It's funny, Anthony did mention his guys don't necessarily look at him as an engineer anymore. I have an engineering background, and if he thinks they don't look at him as an engineer anymore, they don't look at me as an engineer at all. But it's great to have the baseline, to be able to look into what's going on and make some good decisions, taking advantage of all the great talent that we have across the company and making practical, well-reasoned decisions about where we take digital engineering forward. And we're very excited about it because, like I said, we've gotten some really good responses from the customers that we've worked with, and looking forward to bringing it all kinds of different places within the government.
Yeah, I mean, and you guys are actually creating, I'm assuming you're creating a database of information, this wealth of knowledge that applies to pilots everywhere, both in the government, but also commercially, right? And even let's just take within the government, the Navy isn't the only ones that fly. I mean, every branch military has planes. How do you share the knowledge, or how is that like, what's next in terms of like, we've created this amazing product and we've got all this great information that's going to help us all get better together. How do we disseminate that so that it applies to other things, out there?
No, you're spot on there, Philip. The planes are the planes. Anthony mentioned that we've worked on dual flight control systems. We can adapt those to any number of aircraft, any number of airframes. We're taking it not only on fixed wing, but also on helicopters. So there's a lot of work that we can do there. And Anthony and his team are doing a lot of evangelizing, taking it into other areas and showing different organizations how and where it can be effective. And where those things have been the most effective are with aging aircrafts that might not have the most advanced systems as they're coming out of production, being able to retrofit them and show how those fit into those older aircraft and increase their lifespan has been a big part of what we're doing and where we're going. Anthony, I don't know if you want to mention anything there in addition.
Well, I will just say that, the work that we do at the Patuxent River Naval Air Station lended itself very well to digital engineering because we did, our background was modeling and simulation. And so that is the core of digital engineering. But you can expand digital engineering well beyond just the models of the airplanes, the flight dynamics models, because there's so much more in on a program. When you're talking about these, for the Navy, where they're developing airplanes or developing submarines, there's so much more work that goes into those developing a system like that. Well, you can expand out from that flight dynamics model, so to speak, to other areas of the program and to support this digital engineering. So, for example, we didn't really talk about model-based system engineering, but there is there's an entire discipline dedicated to system engineering, and we can help. That's one of the things Peter was saying is we're trying to help push and implement digital engineering practices within that system engineering discipline, and so again, the specific examples that we talked about were aircraft flight dynamics and aircraft system modeling, but it's so much larger than that when you're talking about a weapon system program, and those are the many different areas that we are trying to help the customer implement these tools and processes.
Yeah, sounds like you're creating a methodology that it doesn't even matter what the system is. You're creating an effective way to go about designing it so that it produces the right results that you're looking for, or at least generates the right information or data that you can then go evaluate, and that can apply to anything commercially or in a part of a federal program. But as a pilot, I've been in some of these planes getting my hours in, and I look at some of these instruments and I'm like, man, somebody needs to update this quick. They glide. That was the first thing that shocked me. It's like planes want to fly.
They do.
It's like the engine cuts off, which is a thing, it can stall if you're doing the wrong thing, which I do all the time. And that's not like, I thought it would just, but it's not. I'd much rather be in a simulator and have that happen than in the actual air in a real plane. But who knows, maybe one day I can be.
Well, that is a great example. of the use of models and simulations to save money. And the Navy and other DoD customers do that. That's how they train their pilots. You spend a significant amount of time in simulation. And then where we work, we do a lot. We do some training system work, but we do a lot of engineering simulation, which is a different level as far as the fidelity of the simulations, because in our world, you're updating software that goes on the airplane, or you're updating hardware that goes on the airplane. So the simulations that we utilize are a lot more detailed, but it all goes back to saving money and saving lives, and that's that is why we do what we do.
Yeah, and so I mean, I guess you're saying, like, if we did this update and it changed these 10 things, this is what will happen, and that's the simulation that you do, and then you decide whether or not that's the right update.
That is essentially what we're doing. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, that's keeping the warfighter safe. That's keeping that pilot safe. That's keeping everybody safe.
Right.
Well, Peter, Anthony, I really appreciate you guys joining us. I was excited to have this chat with you.
Thank you, Philip.
Yes. Thanks for having us, and good luck getting your license. I got mine about 20 years ago. So it's one of the highlights of my career was getting my pilot's license. So good luck with that.
All right. Thank you so much, Peter. Thank you so much, Anthony. Before we go, let's talk about Did You Know? Did you know American Systems was founded in 1975 and has been serving federal government clients for over 47 years. American Systems is the 52nd largest 100% employee-owned company in the United States. In 2021, 45% of all new hires at American Systems were veterans. We hope you've enjoyed today's program, and we look forward to seeing you at the next one. Visit nvtc.org for more information.
We look forward to seeing you at next month's Let's Talk Tech with NVTC. In the meantime, follow us at Nova Tech Council on Twitter and LinkedIn, and remember to sign up for the latest tech news at nvtc.org.